Welcome to DAX Machina. Join us as we explore the mysteries of this world. Cryptids, monsters, macabre tales, and horror stories abound. Could they be true? Are monsters real?
Good evening, folks. Thank you guys for joining us on another edition of DAX Machina. In the house with me tonight is Robbie Jed Rains. Currently, at the moment, Doc is traveling through hurricane-force winds in southern freaking Louisiana on his way to pick up his wife down in Mississippi. He's running through a thunderstorm, so y'all keep him in your prayers tonight. Doc's driving is good, but even driving into a monsoon, anybody can get into trouble. So we're hoping he don't wind up as a guest, an unwelcome guest of the Honey Island swamp monster, since he's down that way. So let's keep Doc in our prayer. Steve's got to work tonight, so Steve won't be here tonight. But we do have a very special guest in the class in the crowd tonight. Here in the chat with us, or here in the studio with us, is Daniel Hamilton, who runs the Cryptid Podcast. It's an awesome show. If you guys have not checked it out, y'all need to. The link is in the description for the show, as well as it will be popping up periodically in the chat. Just does a fantastic job covering a wide range of subjects and cryptids. And I'll need no more introduction. I'll let the man talk himself, and we'll post those links. And Daniel, take it away. Tell us a little bit about yourself and where all they can find you.
Hey, Robbie, DA, thanks for having me on, guys. And to answer your question, yes, monsters are real. So again, my name's Daniel Hamilton. You can call me Dano, Daniel, whatever. I don't have any preference, really. I got started doing this because of my buddy Josh Smith from Mysteries Unknown. But I've been fascinated with the whole cryptid community for a long time. So had my first sighting when I was 12. That solidified everything that I'd been looking at. I think I was around 10 maybe when I saw Patterson-Gimlin film in search of that type of stuff. And then, it just went on from there. After I had my sighting, had a couple more sightings, encounters. Actually, I've only had one sighting. And then my final encounter was in 92 with my little brother. And that's pretty much what kind of halted everything for me. I knew they were real. I've seen one, experienced them. But that last experience took me out of the woods. And it wasn't until, I don't know, mid-20-teens, I heard Wes Germer's show and went on his show. It had been like about 30 plus years before I really talked openly about my experiences, my encounters, so my sighting. And then just met Josh, answered one of his, went on his show. I guess you can say I was a regular guest, and then started a Paranormal podcast and shut that down, got rid of everything with that, and then went to Josh and said, hey, I still want to do this. I love doing it. I'm having a great time. I want to do a Cryptid podcast, and I did some searching, found out that the Cryptid podcast was available, and like I said, started October of 24, dropped my first episode November 24, and here I am.
Awesome, dude. So tell us about your first encounter. Tell us about, let's hear the juicy details on that one.
Sure. So, well, it wasn't until later on, YouTube, the internet, that I realized that I had encounters earlier, years before I had my sighting. The earliest one that I can remember, I was about 7-ish. And my dad, we live in Washington State, and my dad wanted to kind of introduce me to hunting. It wasn't hunting season, but he wanted me to, sit in a deer stand, kind of get the feel for it, what to look for, what signs to look for, and, where the deer are coming from, where they're going to, what their temperament was, what did they normally do in certain types of weather, that whole kind of thing. So we drove down to Aberdeen, Washington to meet up with my uncle, and then from there we drove. And I wish I could tell you the exact location of where we drove to. I can't. I don't remember. Like I said, I was like 7-ish. So I was pretty much just in the back seat of the car. I know we drove down an old logging road, and then we hiked into the woods to this area that they called the hunting camp. And we set up camp, and my dad kind of showed me around a little bit. The next morning we woke up, not super early. The sun was coming up. It was you could see outside. And we walked up this trail, probably a half a mile, 3/4 of a mile away from camp. And there was the deer stand, and climbed up in the deer stand. He started coming up, looked at his knapsack, and was like, "Oh, I forgot something. I need to go back down to camp." He goes, "Stay here. You're going to be fine. There's nothing out here that's going to bother you. You're 100% fine. I'm going to run back down to camp, get what I need, and I'm going to come right back up." And now where this deer stand was set up, in a tree. It was about 10 feet, maybe 15 feet at max. And the way it was set up, behind us was an opening, like a small meadow or field or whatever. And then beyond that, there was a tree line. So the opening was probably like from the back of the tree to the tree line, there was maybe 25, 30 yards of clearing. You could see where there was a couple of game trails. And what these game trails did is they intersected in front, about 15, 20 feet in front of the deer stand. They intersected. One went up like towards the trail that we walk up, and then it veered off further to the left. And then the other one,
place to set up a deer stand.
Yeah, perfect place. Now, no, at that time, it was what it was. I'm there with my dad. That's all that mattered. The other one went down to the right, down like an embankment, like a hill, and then there was a stream down there, and it went down towards the stream. So we get up there. I tell him, I believe what my dad's saying, that there's nothing up here that's going to hurt me. I'll be fine. I watch him lower his rifle down, watch him pick it up, and then he literally starts running down the hill, down the trail. Okay. So I'm sitting up there, and this is where I learned a really good skill later in life when I became a hunter myself. I learned the ability to take a nap anywhere. And so
that's a skill I picked up in the Army.
Yeah. So, I'm sitting, I know my back into this tree stand, and I cross my arms like this, and I'm looking around, and slowly my head starts nodding, and I had my legs stretched out, and just when I felt my chin hit my chest, you've hit that spot when you're getting ready to fall asleep, like you're just about to go, but then you jerk yourself awake, right? Well, that's what happened, but my leg jerked. I'm like, well, what the heck? And so I looked down, I could see my foot clearly, and my boot was untied. And so I'm thinking, okay, I was falling asleep, I jerked, my bootlace caught on a piece of the wood or something. And when I jerked, I untied my boot. So I tied my boot back up, and I'm looking around, and I don't hear nothing. All I hear is the stream down below us. And I'm just kind of hanging out, and all of a sudden my eyelids start getting heavy again, and I'm kind of looking like Robbie right now. I'm putting my head down towards, and I'm getting ready to doze off. Not saying that Robbie's dozing off, but
I have to answer the chat on my phone. Sorry.
No, you're good, man. And so just as I feel like I'm getting ready to fall asleep again, boom, my foot jerks again. And I look, my boot is untied again. Now I'm knowing that something's going on. So I immediately start yelling at my dad, "Stop it! Stop, Dad, stop trying to scare me," And so I go and I tie my boot back up, and it's a lot lighter now. And I'm now laser focused on my boot. I'm not taking my eyes off my boot at all. It's just not going to happen. So as I'm watching, I hear this loud crack. Now, I don't know if it was sticks being smashed together, a stick hitting a tree, or rocks getting clacked together. but it was so loud. It was like it was right inside my ear. And I snapped my head to the right to see where it was. And I looked for a couple seconds, and that's when my boot jerked again. And I didn't have to look down. I knew my boot was untied. I looked down, it was untied. Now I'm standing up in the deer stand, and I'm screaming at the top of my lungs, Dad, why are you trying to scare me? This isn't funny. I don't want to be up here anymore. This sucks. And I see my dad sprinting up this hill, up the trail. And he's like, what are you yelling? Shut up. You're not ever going to see anything if you're up there screaming like a crazy person. What are you talking about? I go, you untied my boot. I know you're trying to scare me. Why are you trying to scare me? And he's like, son, what are you talking about? I didn't untie your boot. Now, my dad's 5'7". And at the time, size didn't come into any play. As I got older, we're 10 to roughly 10 feet, 15 feet up in the air. My dad's 5'7". The math doesn't work. There's no way my dad can reach up and untie my boot, right? So he's like, what's going on? So I told him what's going on. And so now I'm standing up and I'm hugging the tree, and I'm kind of like looking out behind where my dad walked up. He's over here. I go, yeah, over here. He goes, I go, it's right around here. This is where I heard the noise. So he's looking, and then he walks back over. Now he starts slowly, methodically moving back and forth. I know what my dad's doing now. Now I know what he was doing. He was doing a search. He was doing like a grid search, kind of. Slowly back and forth, checking things out, and he stopped. And he got down on one knee, and he like touched the ground and kind of like he was moving something around. And then he stood up, and he started walking towards the tree line. And he got about 15 feet from the tree line, and he stopped. I'm laser focused on my dad. He had a lever action Marlin 30-30, takes that off, and now he's kind of scanning left to right to left. He's got it at the ready, and he just stops. And he's like, Daniel, get out of the tree right now. And I go, what? He goes, I said, get out of the effing tree right now. And so I slowly get out of the tree. He's like, run back to camp. I'll be right behind you. And I just kind of look at him. He goes, I told you to run. And so I take off running. So as I'm running, I run down probably 15, 20 feet. And I don't see my dad coming. Well, then my dad turns around to run, and he sees me. And he goes, I told you to get your effing A back to camp right now. So I start taking off running. Well, I hear my dad running. Then I don't hear him run. So I stop, and he's facing back up towards this deer stand, and he's scanning the area. And then he turns, he sees me stand there. He's like, boy, what do he lost his stuff. So I took off running again. And I stopped and turned like 2 or 3 more times just to make sure he was still behind me. And then finally, the last time, I just had a dead sprint all the way down back into camp. And my dad was literally on my heels. And as we come running into camp, my uncle just came walking out of the tent. And my dad started reading the riot act. What the hell are you doing? You're up there trying to scare Daniel from hunting. What's wrong with you? And my uncle's like, what are you talking about? He goes, I just got back into camp. He goes, if you're wanting him to see something today, it's not going to happen. It's a lot warmer than we thought it was going to be. Everything's not moving. They're not moving. And so my dad goes, we got to pack up. We got to go. And so we packed everything up and hiked back out to the car and drove away. And that's to the best of my memory, the very first encounter that I had. Now, you'll never hear me tell you, Robbie, DA, that was a Bigfoot, because I didn't see nothing. But through all the
research, your dad see it?
No, my dad didn't see anything. I asked my dad later on because I was thinking, as I got older, now I was understanding what's in the area: mountain lions, possibly bears, whatever.
Mountain lions don't untie shoelaces.
No,
not generally.
No. And so I'm asking, my dad. I asked him years ago, Dad, I said, remember that day when we were up there in the time? And he was like, yeah. I go, what did you see up there? What did you see? And I'm thinking he's going to tell me a mountain lion or a bear or something like that. He's like, no. He goes, I didn't see anything. It's like what I heard. And I'm like, well, what did you hear? And he's like, I can't really describe it. He goes, just didn't make sense to me. And he said it sounded like something walking around just inside the trees. Now, again, I'm not saying it's a Bigfoot. My dad never said it was a Bigfoot. But come on, you know, the clacking, the loud crack noise, whatever, something manipulating a shoe, a bootlace. What has opposable thumbs that can do that? You know, now once I can see it might have been me, my bootlace getting caught on a piece of the deer stand. Very plausible. But then 2 other times, it doesn't.
That's
make
pretty
sense.
weird.
It doesn't make sense. You know, so that I call my first encounter. Then about a year or so later, maybe 2, we go back to the same place. Now this time it's my dad, my brother and I, my uncle, one of my uncle's best friends, and then 2 of my uncle's neighbors, and each one of those neighbors brought one of their kids, a son. And it was going to be like a guy's weekend. You know, we could spend like 3 days out there, 4 days out there. And we go back to the same camp. And the first day, you know, we get out there, you got 3 trucks. We're all parked up on this old logging road. We all hike about an hour into the woods to where this clearing is, amongst these trees. And there's a stream, you know, there's plenty of fish in the stream. You can see them. And the adults were pulling about 99% of the gear on like deer sleds. That's the best way I can describe them, you know, pulling all the stuff in, the heavy stuff in. The kids, I think, the oldest kid I want to say was probably 10 or 11. I was about 8 or 9. I want to say 9. Then my little brother was 7, and I think the other kid was about my brother's age, maybe a year younger. And so we all had our little backpacks on, and we helped out carrying with whatever we could help carry. So we get there, we set up camp. Now we had this big old military tent that was canvas roof, canvas sides. And we had that all set up. We had our camp all set up. And so after we got all done doing that, kids, we just played. We waded and tried to swim in the stream. Tried to do some fishing at the time, did fishing a little bit later. We shot a couple 22s, and then went to bed after we had dinner. Woke up the next morning. Again, same type of activities. Shot a lot more 22s. That's where I first shot my first handgun. It was a Ruger Super Blackhawk 44 Magnum. I was like 9 years old. My uncle thought it'd be a great thing for me to learn to shoot. We took 20 minutes out of our day to try to find that 44 because when I shot it up over my head. And that was a good time. And then after that, you know, my dad and my uncle, they kind of split our party up into 2. And they're both Vietnam vets, so they wanted to try to just give us a little bit of their survival skills that they had. Now, they were both raised in Alaska. You know, they were raised, you know, up at Ketchikan and Craig. So my family was a lot of loggers, fishermen. They did a lot of hunting, you know, so they were pretty rugged guys, you know. And my dad just wanted us to learn, you know, how to respect the forest, what was in the forest. If you get lost or if you get cold, you can do this. You can use this for this. You can use that for that. And we went back after that. It was maybe a little bit after 1 or 2. It was in that time frame. We started shooting some more. And then while we were reloading one of the 22s, off in the distance, and I mean far away, we heard this loud, like, holler, like yell. And it was, you could tell it was really far away, but you heard it. And I looked at my dad and I go, you know, my dad kind of looked at me and like, bear, you know, like, Dad, was that a bear? And he's like, oh, I think it was a bear, you know? So that night, we ate dinner, you know, we'd done some fishing, we cleaned everything up. We went back to bed. I wake up and I hear something walking around outside our tent, out in the camp. And I look over, my dad's wide awake. My uncle's wide awake. All the adults are awake. There's 5 adults and 4 kids. All 3 of the other kids are asleep. The adults are awake. And my dad just kind of tells me, keep your mouth quiet, don't say nothing. And this goes on for probably, I don't know, maybe 35, 40 minutes. And then it just is gone. And I go to sleep. Wake up the next morning. I walk around and, everybody's up. And I see these prints, but they weren't like defined prints. And I'm like, Dad, is this a bear? Is this a bear? Now, again, I didn't know what Bigfoot was. I didn't know. I had no notion of what Bigfoot was at this time. Like I said, I didn't realize what Bigfoot was until the Patterson Gimlin film, like when I was like 10, And so I'm like, are these bear? My dad's like, yeah, they're bear, And I remember a glance between my dad and my uncle. So that day goes on. We're goofing off again. We're swimming. We're fishing. We're shooting more guns. And just as we get ready to start having dinner, we hear like this yell again, but this time it's way closer, like way, maybe under a mile away, but it is very loud. And I look at my dad again, and I kind of do like the whole bear thing again. He's like, yeah, it's a bear. Okay. I'm taking what my dad says as the gospel. We eat dinner, we clean up, we make sure all of our food's back up in the trees with the food bags, and everything's secured. Any lids they have, they're locked down or whatever. We go to bed and sound asleep. All of a sudden, I hear this walking around again. This time, it's not just one thing walking around. It's multiple things walking around. And I sit up in my sleeping bag and I look at my dad. My dad has his rifle in his hand. I look at my uncle. My uncle and his friend are sitting in the middle of the tent, one facing the back of the tent, one facing the front of the tent. They both have their rifles. The other 2 adults, they have handguns. And they're just looking back and forth. Again, all the kids are asleep except for me. And I go to ask my dad what's going on, and that's when I heard something, whether they have nails, claws, whatever, start at the front corner of the tent where my back is against, on that side of the wall, and just drag its nails down the canvas side of the tent, around the back side, around the other side, and then you hear it take off through the woods. I did not sleep for the rest of the night. I stayed up the entire night. My uncle stayed up. My dad stayed up. And then when we saw a little bit of daylight peeking out through the front flap of the tent, my uncle walks out very slowly. Goes out, and all of a sudden I hear my uncle say, Dean, you got to come and see this. Now, our camp it sounded like it was being ransacked the night before. That's what woke me up, because I'm hearing all this ruckus going on. So my dad's getting ready to get out of his sleeping bag. I'm already up out of my sleeping bag, and I'm sprinting towards the flap because I want to see what my dad's getting to see. And our camp was trashed. Lawn chairs we had up there, just mangled. Lids on coolers completely ripped off. Food bags were out of the trees. Anything that was not in a can was gone. If it was in a can, it looked like it had been dented, like smashed or whatever. They couldn't get it open. They just dropped it. Footprints everywhere. This time it looked like they were big footprints, like human. And I just looked at my dad. And my dad looked at me, and I go, Dad. He's like, get everybody up. So I go in, I wake the other 3 boys up, and I go, come on, guys, we're leaving. We're packing up. And so the kids get up. We start packing things up. My dad, as soon as we get everything out of the tent, they're taking the tent down. They're not even trying to fold it neatly. They're just wadding it up and putting it on one of these deer sleds. That's how they're packing. Everything that wasn't destroyed was put on deer sleds, and we started hauling butt out of there. Just as we're getting ready to head down back down the trail to get out of this area, we hear this scream. And this time it feels like it's maybe 100 meters away, and it comes through the trees like a wave of energy. You could feel it. And so now we're moving through the trees as fast as we can down this path. Kids are screaming or crying. I'm scared. The way our line of people was the two dads, then their two boys, my uncle's friend, then me and my brother, and then my uncle and my dad. They were bringing up the rear. And so we're hauling butt. And I hear my dad and my uncle go, I've got one over here on the left. I got one over here on the right. And I'm trying to look while I'm running. My brother and the other youngest kid get tired, so they wind up being put onto a sled, and now they're being dragged. We finally get up to where the embankment goes up out of the woods and up onto this logging road, and I jump in the very first truck that I see. People start throwing stuff in the back of trucks. There's 3 trucks. My dad runs by me and jumps in the back of the middle truck. Somebody helped my little brother into the back of the truck that I was in. I was in the bed of the truck. He was like in the back seat of the truck. And my uncle threw his sled up into the back that I was in and climbed into the bed of the truck with me. And someone slapped the hood of the truck or the side of the truck and yelled, "Go, go, go." And so all 3 trucks start taking off. And next thing you know, my uncle is just unloading his rifle. Bang, bang, bang. And my dad, all of a sudden, he starts unloading his rifle. And they're not just shooting sporadically. They're engaging targets. And it kind of, in a way, chokes me up and upsets me in a way because we were having such a good time. And I just watched my dad and my uncle, who were Vietnam vets. The Vietnam War hadn't been over that long.
Dude, that is freaking wild.
Well,
you guys basically got chased out of the woods.
Well, I watched my dad and my uncle go into a place that I didn't appreciate then, but I appreciate it now. Because we were having so much fun. And these guys, I honestly believe they went back to Vietnam because they had the enemy coming down on them. And as we're driving, I peek my head up over the back of the truck and I see this branch or stick that was probably 6 to 8 feet long come sailing out of the woods, and it went right between the truck my dad was in and the truck I was in. And I honestly believe if we were going any slower or any faster, I think that branch would have hit one of the trucks. And we took off. I know I'd never been back to that place. I don't think anybody else that was in our party ever went back to that place. So that was that I would say was my second encounter.
That's definitely an encounter. Whether they came out where you could see them or not, dude, that is a horrifying encounter. I mean, that ranks, just to hear you telling it, to hear the emotion in your voice, to me, that ranks up there with Fred Roll's encounter from Alaska. Dude,
yeah.
Not only were you terrified, but clearly the adults there were doing everything they could to get you kids out of there before somebody got took.
You know, and I'm sorry I'm getting emotional about it because
dude, no need to apologize at all. These things like this, they affect people emotionally profoundly. So you got nothing to apologize for, brother.
You know, it's, I don't know. Again, I had no clue what was going on. You know, I heard the noises. I heard stuff tearing through the woods. But again, the only thing I had to compare to anything was maybe a bear. I'd heard bears before. I'd seen bears before. Again, I didn't know what Bigfoot was. You know, and then shortly after that, I moved. My brother and we moved with my mom in to another state, and nothing really happened in that time frame. And then a step parent, didn't get along with him. And so he pretty much gave my mom an ultimatum to either the kids go or I go. And so my mom sent us back to live with our dad.
I'm sorry, dude.
No, it's cool, man.
Nobody's going to make me make that choice with my kids, even though they're adults. I got to choose between them and my kids. I'm picking the kids.
Yeah, and I mean, I can understand. I mean, my mom didn't always make the right decisions, and I love my mom. I lost my mom in 2017. 10 months prior, I lost my little brother, and then a year and a half, I lost my my dad. So from 2014 to 2017, my whole life was turned upside down and inside out. But so my dad was newly single. I think my dad was done on his third marriage, so he was already done with it. So he had been married 3 times: my mom, a stepmom, and another stepmom. And he was newly single, and we moved back to Washington State. We moved to Graham, Washington, and we lived in a little adult RV park that was for 55 and older. And how my dad got in there, I have no idea. But I guess my dad knew the owners, and so he could stay there. My dad didn't want us growing up there. So little did we know, he went and purchased 5 acres of land and had cleared it while we were staying with our aunt and uncle in Tacoma. He would spend weekends up in this new property, clearing a quarter, I don't know, maybe 3/4 of an acre or an acre. Had put plans out to build a house, move the 5th wheel up there eventually, and built a really nice deck. The deck was as long as the 5th wheel was, and probably as wide, if not a little bit wider than the 5th wheel. We did a lot of barbecuing. We'd go out there and play games. We'd listen to music. We'd move the speakers from the 5th wheel out onto the deck. We'd listen to music out there. And one day my dad comes to pick us up from Tacoma and bypasses where we thought we were living and takes us to this new property. And we're like, what's going on? He's like, this is our new home. I bought the land. I'm buying the land. And I put the 5th wheel up here this weekend, and while you guys were down with your aunt, and built this up and did this and this, and come over here. This is where we're going to build the house. And I've already got certain trees marked that I want to use to build the house with. And you guys, it was 5 acres, except we'll say 4 acres because he cleared so much of it. But it was all woods. And some parts of it was super thick woods. Some parts are a little bit sparse. Huckleberry bushes everywhere. Old, humongous old growth stumps from old trees that had been taken down or had fallen down or whatever. And so this was like a playground for, a 12-year-old and a 10-year-old. We built a go-kart with my dad, and it was a 2-seater. So me and my brother would rip up and down this gravel road that at the time I thought was 5 miles long. Now distance, I know what distance is now. So it's really maybe 1.5 miles, maybe 1.75 miles tops. And we just had a great time. And then one day it was around spring break, or let me stop that. So right before, a month before spring break, we had a really bad storm. And if anybody knows what a 5th wheel is, I was sleeping in the little loft area with my little brother. And if you're looking right at the 5th wheel, I'm sleeping on the right-hand side nearest the woods, which is probably about 50 feet or so from the 5th wheel to the tree line. And then my brother slept on the side where the deck was. And this storm is hitting, and it's your typical heavy rain, loud cracks of thunder, bright flashes of lightning, wind. Every time the wind would blow pretty heavy, the trailer would move a little bit. My dad had anchored the fifth wheel down, had put cement blocks underneath it to give it a little more stability. And next thing you know, this loud crack of thunder hit, and I feel like the camper's going like this. Almost, I don't know what that degree is. And then it slams back down. And I rip open the curtain that's right on this window that's right next to my bed. And I look, and a flash of lightning hits, lights up the sky, and I see this massive thing walk underneath this limb and into the woods. And I'm like, my dad's like, what the hell was that? I'm like, Dad, it was a Bigfoot. It was a Bigfoot. And he's like, shut up. It was not a Bigfoot. You're just imagining that. I go, Dad, I'm telling you. He's like, shut up. You wake up your brother. I'm looking over. My little brother's sound asleep. I mean, you could put a bomb off next to his face and he wouldn't wake up. Like, this kid slept like a rock. So the next morning, because it had rained all night long, next morning I get up, go outside, and I'm looking around, and my dad comes out. He's like, what are you doing? I go, I'm going to see where that thing went. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, Dad, that Bigfoot last night. He's like, Daniel, you didn't see a Bigfoot. I go, well, I saw something, and it walked underneath this tree right here, and its head was like close to that branch. And he's like, it was close to that branch? And I go, yes, it was. And so he goes and opens up the shed, pulls out a tape measure, and he starts taping it up. And he goes, tell me when to stop. And I told him when to stop, and he looked at me. He's like, there is no way you saw something this big walk underneath. I go, why? He goes, Daniel, this is over 8 feet tall. And like that, it walked right into the woods right there. And we walked over, and you could tell where something had disturbed the pine needles and things like that, but there was no definite print. You could definitely tell there was impression. But like I said, it had rained all night long, and it didn't let up. And so if we were to find a track, it was undescribable, really. So, and he's like, well, you didn't see anything that big. And I go, yes, I did. And I turn around and I go, well, tell me what did that then? And I'm pointing to the side of the camper, and there is a huge dent. How there was not a hole in the side of this fifth wheel, I'll never know. But there was a massive dent in the side of this fifth wheel. Like something had rammed its shoulder or tried to push it as hard as it could. So much so that two of the straps, the anchor straps, were completely pulled up out of the ground, and a few of the cement blocks were crushed, like broken apart. And so my dad goes, well, don't say anything to your brother. Don't say anything to your brother. And about that time, my little brother comes walking out, and he's like, tell me what? And I'm just about to tell him, I'm going to say, look, a Bigfoot hit the camper. But my dad goes, a tree limb hit the camper last night. And my little brother goes, oh, that's what that noise was. Okay. Now fast forward to coming home from Tacoma from spring break. We hung out with my cousins and my aunt and uncle. And it's probably 10:30 at night, maybe 11, and we're driving down this gravel road. Now, the only light that was on this road was where the paved road and the gravel road met. And we lived about a mile down this gravel road, 3/4 of a mile to a mile down this gravel road. And so the road kind of dipped down like this as it was coming off the main road. And then it would straighten out, it'd go a little bit, then have like a little small rise, and then it would straighten out, then it would go back down. And it did that about 2 or 3 times. Okay. And so as we're coming down, as my dad's headlights go down with the road, I see eye shine on the passenger side of the road, way down the road, like almost to where our house is. Right. And I go, Dad, there's a deer up there. There's eye shine. There's something up there. And he's like, oh, it'll leave when it sees us coming closer. It'll go away. And my dad, specifically for this area because it was so dark outside. He had bought some driving lights, and he angled them out as far as he possibly could so he could see both sides of the road driving down this road. Good, because we had wildlife, porcupines, coyotes, deer. I wouldn't be surprised if a bear walked through occasionally. You know, I never saw one, but I wouldn't be surprised if there was. And so as we're driving, we go up the first rise, and I see the eye shine again. I go, Dad, it's still there. It's not moving. And he's like, yeah, it'll move. I go, Dad, just turn your brights on, please. And so we go down, we go up, we start coming up this rise again. As we get to the top of the rise, my dad turns the brights on and hits those driving lights. And it lit the entire area up. And standing about 25 to 30 feet in front of the car was this massive female Bigfoot. She was kind of like hunched over, and then she just straightened up, like stood up. I didn't think she was going to stop standing up, you guys. And she put her hand up like this. I saw the palm of her hand, saw the hair that was hanging down off of her forearm, and she turned and looked. I could see her face. The best description I can give you guys is her body build was like Patty, but not as hefty, if that says anything. Her head was not quite shaped like Patty's. Huge, brow ridge was there, hair on her face, but not covering her face. A nose kind of like ours, but on a bigger scale, not mashed in, not like a bell pepper nose or whatever, but it looked like a human nose, but just on a bigger scale, kind of flared nostrils. And for some reason I focused on it was her upper lip. It looked like it was a thin upper lip. And I started sinking down when I saw her turn away again at the waist. She just kind of like pivoted, and I ducked down into the floorboard of the car. And my dad never sped up, and my dad never slowed down. He was probably going 15, maybe 20 miles an hour tops. But I want to say more to like 15 miles an hour. And I figured we were already past where we were at. We still had enough ambient light shining from these freaking driving lights that when I peeked up and looked, I saw her standing in the wood line parallel with me about 20 feet away. So much so I saw her blink her eyes. Now, when I saw the eye shine, it was like a dark amberish, maybe close to red color. But when I saw her on the other side, there was like a black glistening. Does that make sense? It almost looked like her eyes were glass. Mm-hmm. And when I saw her blink her eyes. And then my dad just drove up about maybe 200 meters, maybe 200 feet. And we pulled into the driveway. I didn't even give my dad a chance to stop the car. I had my keys in my hand. I had already opened up the car door, and I jumped out of a moving car. And I ran, jumped up the 4 steps, unlocked the door, jumped into my dad's bed. A couple seconds later, I hear the car door slam. I hear my dad coming up on the deck. And he walks in the door, goes up the little steps, up in the little loft area, puts my brother on his bed, and he walks right down by me. I go, Dad, what was that? Dad, what? He was like, you know what that was. I go, Dad, was that really? He's like, that's exactly, yes, you know what you saw. 100% that's what it was. And he just started grabbing food, stuff out of the cupboards, out of the refrigerator. Goes out on the deck, puts it on a table. I hear him walk off. I hear him slam my door, the passenger side door, unlocks the shed, pulls out a ladder, comes back up on the deck, puts this ladder up. Now, if you're looking again at the fifth wheel, the back corner of this deck, my dad put this tall pole I don't know how tall it was. I'm going to say between 15 and 20 feet tall. I could be wrong on that, but he fastened it to this deck. My dad was an avid bird watcher. And on the top of this pole, he put a platform. And what his plan was to build, him and I were going to build a bird feeder. So he could put it up there. It would have been a huge bird feeder. So he could take pictures of these birds as they come in and feed. He could hear a bird, he could tell you what it was. That's how good he was at it. So I'm watching my dad, and he's putting the ladder up, and he starts putting all this food up here. And then he comes back in the house, and he grabs a rag from underneath the sink. And he walks back out, and he takes this tube out of his back pocket. I later found out it was a tube of grease. And he squirted all this grease onto this rag. And he started greasing this pole from the top all the way down to the railing on the deck. And I looked at him, and I go, Dad, why are you doing that? And he's like, oh, to stop animals from getting that food. And I go, oh, you mean like raccoons? And he's like, yeah, raccoons. And I don't know what it was. I don't know if he was validating what my thought process was, but it kind of took me out of where I was just at 15 minutes ago to making everything seem like it's okay, it's fine. So he puts the ladder up, and he comes back in the house. I jump back in his bed, and he's like, do you want to sleep with me, buddy? I go, yeah. Can I please, Dad? He's like, yeah, you can. My dad was a smoker. He never smoked in the camper. So he walked out on the deck, and he's smoking a cigarette. Now, the door was cracked a little bit, so I'm kind of eavesdropping. And I hear him say something to the fact like, we saw you. We saw you. We know you saw us. It's just me and my boys. We don't mean any disrespect. We don't mean any harm. We just want to live here and build a home and have a safe family. Please don't hurt my boys. Please don't scare my boys. And I hear him put the cigarette out, put it in the butt can, and he starts to come towards the door. Well, I jump back into the bed because I didn't want him to, see me spying on him. But then I go, Dad, who were you talking to? And he's like, oh, I wasn't talking. I was praying. And I go, well, I didn't hear you say amen. And he goes, oh, amen. Right? Now, I'm going to preface this by saying the entire time that I knew my dad, my whole life, I've never seen my dad step foot into a church. I've never heard my dad pray, ever. And for him to come and say that he was praying kind of caught me off guard in a way. So I knew now I know that he knew something. So I'm laying in bed, and I'm, again, laying on the side of the camper where it's nearest the tree line. My shoulder and my back kind of up against the wall. And I remember it was around 1 o'clock, 1:30. My dad had a big alarm clock that glowed red, so it let off a lot of ambient light. And so I hear this noise. You guys know what it sounds like when something heavy gets placed on like a wooden pallet, or that creaking, that cracking, that popping of wood. I hear that stepping up on to the deck, like not something just placed on, something stepped up onto the deck. And then I hear it again, and I look at my dad. Remember, still got this ambulite, so I could see my dad, and my dad's going like this. He's putting his finger to his mouth, telling me to shut up, and I'm trying to mouth, like how many, and that's when I heard and felt something run alongside the camper, the side that I was laying against, and it was heavy footfalls, just boom, 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 and it went around the back side of the camper, and then you heard something else come up onto the deck. And I'm almost certain there were at least 3 of them on that deck. And I'm looking at my dad, and my dad reached over and tried to pull me closer because I'm terrified. And then I hear something like, I hear something like that. It's a very poor representation, but I hear something like that, and I know I'm losing my stuff. My dad's trying to hold me, keep me safe, and I must have cried myself to sleep. Because the next thing I remember is we had one of these windows on this door that was like a bathroom window, so you couldn't see out of it and you couldn't see in of it, but light could come in and out of it. I see the sunshine coming through that window, and I jump up, open the door, and I immediately jump up on the railing of the deck. Now the deck was probably 5 or 6 feet. On the bottom was 5 or 6 feet high. Well, maybe 4 or 5 feet high, sorry. But then the railing was a 4-foot tall railing. So I was up a good 8-9 feet in the air, standing on this narrow railing. It was probably like that narrow. And I'm trying to do a tightrope walking act so I can get an angle at looking at this platform. And when I got the perfect angle, I could tell there was nothing up there. There was nothing. It was all gone. Well, I jump off the railing. My dad comes out. He's like, "Were you on that railing?" Because he told me not to do it. So I hurt myself. If I fall off, I can hurt, if not kill myself. And I'm like, "Dad, I was on there, but all that food's gone. All the food's gone." He's like, "What do you mean?" I go, look, there's no food." So my dad's kind of walking back a little bit so he can see, and I'm sure he could tell there was no food. So while he's doing that, I'm looking at this pole. And as I'm looking, I'm seeing that it looks like something had grabbed this pole in multiple spots. And what was really cool about it was that it looks like one of them had taken its finger and from almost to the top of this pole, ran its finger all the way down the pole, collected a lot of grease on its finger, and then wiped that grease on the railing. And I go, Dad, look at this. And he's like, holy crap. And I go, Dad, I'm telling you, I know it. He's like, you're right. So again, my dad tells me, don't say nothing to your brother. Don't. I'm like, okay. So now we're in the summertime. And I know it was a Saturday because my dad, we were supposed to go fishing, but my dad had to cancel because he had to go into work and do inventory. And so it was just me and my brother hanging out. And normally we'd be outside playing, but my dad just got us an Atari 2600. And so my brother was enamored with it. So I was watching him play this game. And probably about 4:30, 5 o'clock, I hear my dad pull up. And we had the door open. And my dad was pissed. He slams the car door. And he's like, Jesus H. Christ, what the F? What? Daniel Anthony. And I come to the door and he comes up. And he's like, what happened to the burn barrel? Because we didn't have local trash, so we just burned our trash. And this is a 55-gallon drum. And he had taken like 2 bags of playground sand and dumped it into the bottom of this burn barrel so it would protect the bottom a little bit, and that if there was a strong wind, it wouldn't blow it over, right?
Yeah.
So there's a good, 40 pounds of sand at the bottom of this barrel, plus the weight of the barrel. At 12 years old, I think I weighed maybe 85 pounds. So there's no way I'm going to move this burn barrel myself. He's like, what happened to the GD burn barrel? I go, what are you talking about? And he goes, where is the burn barrel? And I go, I don't know, being a smart ass back to my dad. And I go, Dad, I didn't burn any trash today. He's like, well, come over here and tell me this then. I go, so my brother's still playing. I go outside. He's like, where is it? I go, I don't know. I didn't move it, Dad. He's like, well, somebody moved the damn thing. Where'd it go? And so him and I start looking. He starts walking towards the shed to look around behind the back of the shed. For some reason, I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I walked right into the woods where I saw that thing earlier, walk into the woods. What did I find 30, 35 feet into the woods? I found the burn barrel. Found the burn barrel on its side. And it wasn't like it was placed in there. It looked like it was thrown in there. And so our dad, he's like, what? I go, I found it. He's, you found what? I go, the burn barrel. What do you mean you found the burn barrel? And he's still pissed. I go, come over here. So I come walking out. And I go, it's over here. And he comes in. He's like, now how did it get in there? And I go, I don't know. And he's like, boy, I'm going to tell you right now, you better drop that tone with me, you know. And so I go, Dad, one of the Bigfoot threw it in here. I'm telling you, that's what did it. He goes, well, let's get it up. So him and I both pick it up, and I'm trying to help him, and we're kind of moving it this way because I couldn't lift up one end. So we're moving it, and we get it back. And about that time, he says, well, don't tell your brother. He doesn't need to be scared. My brother goes, tell me what? And before I knew what I was saying, I go, Bobby, a Bigfoot threw the burn barrel in the woods. And my dad goes, pow, and pops me in the back of the head. I told you. And my brother goes, well, I don't think it was one of the small ones that I've seen. And me and my dad are just like, what? He goes like, oh yeah, I've seen 2 small ones. And I'm like, what do you mean you saw 2 small ones? He's like, over there across from the deck, we know when we bring the speakers out or we're playing games or something and we play the music, I see 2 small ones. They come walking around the edge of the property. They stay in the woods, but sometimes if they cross the right area, I can see them. And they go and they sit down by those trees right over there, and they stay low, and they'll sit there and listen to the music the entire time. And then whenever I've turned the music off, I see them slowly get up and sneak away, and then they're gone. And I go, really? And he's like, yeah. He goes, yeah, I've thrown a couple of baseballs and tennis balls in the woods. And he goes, I went out there looking for them. I can't find them. They're gone. And I go, really? He's like, yeah. And he goes, one time I was walking out to the tree fort, and I saw one jump out of the tree fort, and literally, like, as it landed, it was already sprinting. So when it hit, it just took off right through the woods. And, we had built the tree house about 25, 30 feet into the woods off of a little trail that was already there. And we would go up in the tree house, and there was a time where I was looking out the window of the tree house, and I just got this really weird feeling. And I looked at my brother, and he looked at me, and I go, man, we got to go. He's like, yeah, we got to get back to the house. That we call the camper our house. But as I looked out this window, I saw something huge, bigger than the female that I saw. I don't think it was the one that hit the camper, but I saw it kind of peeking its head around a tree, and then would move its head back, and then it would peek back around the other side and move its head back. But it was like a good 70, maybe 80 feet away from us. And I'm thinking that was the adult male, the alpha male. Of course, the female it was the dad that we saw in the woods, the mom, the older sibling, I want to say like between 17 and maybe 21-year-old, that I say threw our burn barrel into the woods and hit our camper. And then the 2 juveniles were the younger siblings that my brother had. What color was it? So the big male that I had a glimpse of, I want to say was a really dark brown or black. The female was like a dark, like charcoal color. The one that ran off into the woods was like more of a blackish, with like, it was mostly black from what I could tell. And then the 2 juveniles, I didn't see them, so I don't know what. But yeah, so that was the encounter at that property. Now, October 25th of that year, my dad was involved in a really bad car accident. He was on his way to work, was trying to pass a semi truck, to get out from behind it because it was raining really heavy, so it had that little vortex going on. It was spraying water everywhere. As my dad was trying to get over, another truck comes flying up behind him, laid on his horn. So my dad whipped back behind that one truck, hit like a berm or curb or something on the side of the road, and it flipped his car end over end and rolled 3 times. He was ejected from the car. The state trooper who investigated it said that if he would have had a seatbelt on, my dad would have been dead. He called me from work. Instead of going to the hospital, he wanted to be taken to work. So he called me and told me what had happened and that my aunt was going to show up and pick us up, pack everything up that we needed because more likely we wouldn't be back for a while. Unfortunately, my dad lost the property. That was the last time until the following spring that I'd seen the property. When we went back, I had already grabbed everything that I really wanted. I didn't have much. And while everybody else was going through stuff in the camper, I was walking around the property, walking around the camper. And I noticed something really weird on all of the windows. And it was like something was going like this, looking in. Of course, we had windows, we had the drapes and the blinds drawn. But what was really odd about it was the 2 side windows and the front window of the 5th wheel up where the loft is. That's really tall. And for something to have prints like that, like it was looking in, it had to have been the mom or the dad. But every window had those prints, and just they looked for us. We cleared stuff. There were
Daniel, you're kind of cutting out on us.
Oh, can you hear me?
I can now. Yeah.
Is that better?
It got a little like faded out for a second. Go ahead.
All right, sorry, but so there was a time where we had some trees that my dad had cut down, and he would like have friends come over and help him move them. They'd rent equipment or they'd bring their own equipment. And he comes home one day, goes, did someone come over and move those logs? We're like, no one. What do you mean? He goes, the logs that were sitting over here, they're now on the pile of the other logs. I'm not saying that the Sasquatch grabbed the logs and moved them over, but there have been times, I left food up there, my dad left food up there. We get stuff. I remember there was a dead animal that was up on the platform. There were feathers, there were shiny rocks, there were regular rocks, there were some some berries of some kind. And then the one thing that I kept it for the longest time, and I have no clue where it went, probably lost it in a movie. I found a blue marble, just a single blue marble sitting on that platform, like in place of what we had left for him. And so I kept that in a jar for the longest time, and I wish I still had it today. I don't know where it's at. But yeah, so that's my sighting. And then after that, I had 3 encounters up in the Pine Barrens when I was stationed or going through training up at Fort Dix, New Jersey. We were doing some defending, like air-based ground defense, defending an airbase, and I was a 60 gunner, and so I was pretty much one of the anchors in the line. So I'm in a bunker, had my 60 set up. One of the Army instructors comes up and asks us if we'd ever seen or heard of a starlight scope. And I've heard of a starlight scope. I'd never seen one. And so he brought one over to us and showed us how to use it and told us what to do. And so nighttime came, and we're all excited to use a starlight scope to see what it's like. Bless you.
Sorry about that.
No, you're good, man. You guys,
my dog's gassing me out, and it's like really bugging my sinuses.
Oh man,
he's about 80 pounds. He's laying right over here, kind of just off the camera.
No, he's giving you the business.
He's just letting fly tonight. I don't know what the hell he ate, but oh my god, I want to tell him to get the hell out of the room, but he won't. He won't listen.
No, he's the boss, man.
Yeah, it's his house. I just pay the bills.
Exactly. So I go and I'm sitting up the 60, and I'm just kind of like looking around, and we get a transmission over the radio. All line item, line positions be advised. We have a patrol moving, east to west in front of your location. Just be advised. I don't remember exactly what the transmission said, but it was something like that. And so I'm looking and I go, man, I'm gonna check out this starlight scope. So I get on the starlight scope and I'm moving back and forth, and I see this patrol, and I'm watching them. Now, if anybody out there who's listening doesn't know anything about starlight scopes, they're magnificent pieces of equipment. They're outdated now, but at this time
still work very well though.
Yes, they do. Now, when you're in the military, well, with me, because I was a cop, I was Air Force Security Police, our dress and appearance was like key. Like, we were representatives of the base commander and the Air Force. When you're coming on base, we need to look absolutely sharp. So for our BDUs, which were woodland camo at the time, you had to have starch sleeves, shined boots. So what people don't realize, if you put starch on these uniforms, you are now a white silhouette. It is 100% beyond the shadow of doubt. That is a person standing there. You can make out your arms, your everything. If you don't put starch or anything on your uniforms, you're a blob. You're a green blob. You don't have really much of a shape to you. So as I'm watching this unit, I'm counting 10 individuals in white walking in front of my position. As they get by this crop of trees or bushes, I see something stand up that was easily almost 7 feet, if not 7 feet tall, and it fell in right behind the last guy of this squad that was walking in front of our position. So I get on the radio and I'm like, I'll call him Delta 2. I go, Delta 2 is Raider 4. He's like, go ahead. I said, what is your count? And he goes, 10, 1, 0, copy. I go, negative. I'm counting 1, 1, 11, 1, 1, copy. And he's like, and you can see him put his hand up. Everybody kind of just lowers down. And you see them turning back to each other. And what they're doing is they're doing a count. 1, you're 2. 2, you're 3. 3, you're 4. And that's what you're giving your count. Well, when it got back to like the last two dudes, the like number 9 guy turned to say something to number 10 guy, and they both jumped up and just took off running. They blew by the rest of the squad, and that's when someone, whatever it was, that got spooked or whatever, and they shot a flare. I don't know if it was an instructor shooting a flare or but somebody shot a flare off into the air, which, number one, took my night vision completely gone. It washed everything out. I'm getting my sight back to see this thing, whatever it was huge. I couldn't get a really good color. I can tell you it was dark in color. And it covered about 200 to 300 yards in seconds. It ran away from my position, straight forward into a huge grove of trees or the rest of the pine barrens, whatever's beyond that area. But it covered a clearing of about 200 to 300 yards in seconds. And I'm like, holy, did you see that? And I'm like getting crazy. 5 minutes later, maybe, I have an instructor that comes up. Hamilton, they need to see you at the CP right now. I'm like, oh, what the hell is going on? So I'm getting ready to break down and like, nope, you just need to go here right now. So I go into the CP, which is the command post, and there is the 2 guys that I saw run away. Another one of the instructors are in there, and then this captain comes in. And he goes, boys, I'm not going to lie to you right now. You didn't see what you think you saw. If you say one thing to anybody about this at any time, I'm going to court-martial you, Article 15 you, and I'm going to kick you completely out of the Air Force. Well, there's the old timer.
Yeah.
And I go,
I think he's trying to apologize.
But I was given a direct order not to say a word, not at all to say a word. And when you're 19 years old, this is your first like real career. It's not a job, it's a career. You don't know anything. So what they're telling you is it's the gospel, as if the word of God himself was speaking through this captain. So all of us didn't say a word. Now, we didn't have to sign any NDA or anything like that. I think he got the point across, and we took the bait. We believed him. So we didn't say anything for the rest of the whole training over that whole incident. The three of us would talk about it, and I kept asking, what did you see? It's not what I saw. It's what I felt. It's what I heard. That's why I ran. What did you see? I said, I don't know what it was, man. It was huge and it took off. But we only talked about it amongst the three of us that I know, because I never told anybody this. Another time we're going out and we're training. We're doing ambushes, how to set up ambushes, how to trip an ambush. And so we were the sacrificial, squad. And I'm point man, and I'm moving forward, and I stop because something's just not right. I thought I saw something moving off to the left of the trail that we were walking alongside. And so I stopped, and the instructor that was with us comes up. He's like, Hamilton, what are you stopping for? I said, I don't know. I said, Sergeant, there's something up there about 55, 60 meters up on the left side of the trail. I saw it move. I saw it move from one position to the next. He's like, man, you didn't see nothing. And I go, I did. I saw something. And so he's like, we got to go. We got to pop this, we got to pop this ambush. So I stand up and I'm slowly moving forward. Now I'm probably a good 15 to 20 meters ahead of the rest of the squad. And so I start moving out again, and I get maybe 10 meters. And this thing, it was huge, and it sprinted across this trail from left side to the right side of the trail and ran off into the woods. Again, I didn't sit and drop to a knee. I dropped prone. Now, I'm carrying an M16, but we're only carrying blanks. We don't have live ammunition. So I dropped down prone, and that's when the instructor comes. He's like, what's going on? I said, did you not see that thing move, shoot across? He's like, I didn't see nothing. I go, something's up there. He's like, Hamilton, stop scaring yourself. Get up. You know what? Get to the back. Get to the back of the squad. I'll bring someone else up here. Apparently, you're scaredy cat or something like that. And as I'm turning to go back, all of a sudden we hear the ambush kick off. And we hear these guys shooting blanks. We hear the M60 with blanks going off. Just bow, 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 bow. And we're like, what's going on? And I go, I told you something ran over that way. So we go up there. The whole exercise is over now because something tripped this ambush. And their instructor came over and talked to our instructor. And I heard him saying, he goes, which one of your guys ran through our ambush like a maniac? And he's like, what are you talking about? He goes, one of your guys decided to go all Rambo and just hauled ass right through our ambush and scared the living hell out of one side of my ambush. And I saw my instructor turn and look at me, and he goes, it wasn't nobody. All my guys are here. So that was the other encounter I had. And then another time I smelled something really bad. Didn't hear anything, didn't see anything, but I smelled something. Like,
I was smelling something really bad and had nothing to do with Bigfoot.
That would have been shiz in my pants, I'm telling you. But no, it was such a pungent smell. Oh my gosh, it was a like nose burner. It was so pungent. And yeah, but I mean, during this training when we were at their Fort Dix, the instructors would tell us be careful of the wood people, that they like to kidnap, young airmen. And I think they were doing it to scare us, but in a sense, were they really trying to scare us? Because also, if I'm not mistaken, the Jersey Devil's also supposed to known to be hanging out in the Pine Barrens.
Mm-hmm.
So, but again, I've never seen the Jersey Devil. And so that's that. And then the last encounter that I had Was in 92, Shelby County, Tennessee. My grandfather passed away right around Mother's Day. I came home on emergency leave. My brother was under depression. I was not going to be able to see him graduate. And but I surprised him. And after graduation, I was home for a good 30 days. And he came up to me one day and he's like, "Hey man, you know what'd be cool?" I go, "What?" He's like, "Let's go camping." And I go, "Hell yeah, let's go camping." Because we used to do that all the time when we were kids. If we knew we could camp someplace, we were camping. Even if we couldn't camp, we would camp. And so it wasn't something like we were super planning on. We just went out, grabbed the tent, grabbed some sleeping bags, stuffed them in our bags and headed on out to this place. And drove around through the park, parked our car, walked about, I don't know, maybe 150, 200 yards down the road to the trailhead, and we started walking. We were walking for maybe a good 40, 45 minutes. And my brother stopped and he goes, "If we cut through here, we'll get to where I know is a good camping spot." Now, because it's not a normal known camping spot. He goes, "It's by the Mississippi River." At the time, there was a sandbar that you could literally walk out to. Where the river was at this point in this area, and at this specific spot was like maybe knee deep, and you could walk out there on the sandbar and have bonfire or whatever. So as we're walking through, we probably get a good 25 minutes off trail, and my brother goes, "Man, I got to go to the bathroom." So he goes and starts going to the bathroom. Well, just as he starts going, I hear this whistle coming from my left side. And I immediately look to my brother because I thought he was whistling at me. So I look, and he's like, "What are you doing, man? Wait, you trying to check me out? Trying to look at my stuff?" And I go, "No, man." He goes, "Yeah, I knew that about you, man. I knew you were that way, whistling at me. You like what you see?" I go, "Dude, dude, did you not hear that whistle?" He goes, "Yeah, it was you whistling at me." I go, "No, man, I don't want to check out your junk. And no, I didn't whistle at you." He's like, "Are you sure?" I go, "Bro, I didn't whistle at you." He's like, "Yeah, whatever." He's like zipping it up, putting everything together. And we start walking. And about 10, 15 minutes later, I have to go to the bathroom. So I walk up to this tree and I get started. And all of a sudden I hear this whistle again. And I get ready to turn my brother to joke with him. "Hey, man, you trying to check me out? You whistling at me? Blah, blah, blah." I was trying to do that. But my brother's a big boy. He was 6'3", about 320, 340, something like that. He grabbed me by the back of my backpack and my shirt, and he yoked me back with one hand. Like lifted me off the ground and pulled me back just in time as like a branch or a stick comes sailing through the air and bam, hits the tree right where I was standing next to. And he's like, "Dude, we got to go. I just saw something throw that." I go, "What do you mean you saw?" He goes, "I can't tell you what it was because I didn't get a good, but I saw it come from that area." And I go, "Okay, let's go." He's like, "No, seriously, let's go, man. Let's go." So we'd already been walking maybe another 30, 40 minutes off trail. So we start moving, and we get probably 10 minutes into our walk back, and it wasn't like a slow walk. We were moving with purpose. All of a sudden, he just like stops and almost drops to one knee. And he's like, "Man, I just don't feel good. I feel sick." He's like grabbing at his chest. He says his head hurts. It looks like he's getting ready to throw up. And he's holding on to a tree, trying not to fall forward. I'm like, "Whoa, man, it's okay. Are you okay?" He's like, "Man, I don't know, because this just hit me out of nowhere." So I give him some water. I'm like, "Come on, man, just drink some of this, just drink this water." And so he's taking sips. He's not guzzling. He's taking sips because it seems like every time he's taking a sip, he's about to throw up again. So maybe 5, 10 minutes, he kind of gets his wits about him. And he's like, "I'm okay, man." He goes, "I still feel like my head still hurts. My chest hurts a little bit, but I think let's go. So we start moving. And now I'm moving out ahead of him. And he's like, "Man, I'm getting gassed." Like it's like his energy is just drained. He's like, "I'm gassed. I can't go anymore." I'm like, come on, man, we can go. He goes, you know what? I'll follow you out. I'll follow you out. He's like, no, go ahead. So as I'm walking, I'm making sure I'm not too far ahead of him. And about 5-10 minutes after I tell him that, I get to a part in this trail, and all of a sudden I get hit. My chest feels like it's on fire. My head, I feels like I got somebody sitting on my shoulder with a hammer smashing me in the side of the head. My mouth starts running, drooling really bad. My nose starts running. I feel like I'm going to throw up, and I drop to my knee, and I start retching. I start dry heaving, and between those, I blame him. I go, listen, man, you gave me whatever you got, and he takes his canteen and he starts giving me water to drink. He's like, come on, man, come on. He was like, come on, and he's trying to pick me up, and I can't move. I feel like I'm gonna die. Retching, my stomach, my ribs are hurting because I'm dry heaving. I'm not throwing anything up. And so I get a little more water in me, and he's standing behind me. And he's like, come on, man, come on. And he helps me up, and I'm like, he goes, come on, take some steps. I start taking some steps, and that's when I started kind of getting, my wits about me. And we start moving a little forward, and now I see the trail that we came off of, the main trail. I'm like, dude, we're close. We're gonna get there pretty quick. So we come out on the main trail, and we start moving. And now I'm feeling a little bit better. I still have a small headache, but my brother's still gassed. And we're really moving. And he's like, bro, we gotta go. I hear something. I said, I hear it moving over here too. Like, it's moving on the right-hand side. He's like, come on, man, we gotta go. So I'm moving and moving. I let him get in front of me, and he just starts getting slower and slower. And he's like, dude, I'm so gassed. I can't keep up. And I'm like, man, we're right there. And we moved a little bit further, and that's when I saw the embankment come up from the main trailhead up onto the road, the paved road. And I'm like, dude, we're right there. Let's go. He's like, I can't go, man. I said, come on, man, let's go. And so I push him a little further. He gets up there, and now we're on the main road. We feel safer. We don't hear it anymore, but the whole time we're moving, we hear something coming and moving through the woods. And he's standing facing me, and he's looking behind me. I can look behind him, and I know we're parked, like I said, 150, 200 yards down that road. And he just looks at me, and he goes, I just saw it pass behind you. And I go, what? He goes, bro. He goes, it was big. It was so big. And I go, what? He's like, man, he goes, tell mom I love her. And I go, what are you talking about, man? He goes, tell mom I love her. He goes, you gotta go, man. He goes, it's so big. He goes, just go. I go, man, what do you mean? He goes, just go, man. Just go. I'll hold it off. I'll stay here so you get home. Just tell mom I love her. And I'm like, dude, shut up. This is you and me. And he's like, just go, man. I got you. You'll be okay. And I slapped my little brother in the face. And I go, no, man, I got this. And I grabbed his knife from him. And I'm holding both knives. Now, I'm already in the Air Force 2 years. I'm a combat trained security police. So I think I'm a bad guy. I think I'm tough. I think I'm the baddest dude walking. I have this training. I've got this switch I can hit. And I'm like, just go, man. I'm faster than you. I'll catch up with you. Just go. Get to the car. And so I'm like screaming, come on, you mother effer. Let's go. You want some of this? Let's go. You may get me, but you're going to know you're in a fight. I'm saying something like that. I know I'm cursing up a storm. And I hear this thing just making all this noise, tearing stuff up, growling, screaming. And then I hear my little brother go, come on, man, let's go. And I snap my head over, and I can see him just going around the bend. So I know he's right by the car. And I take off at a dead sprint, and I'm running with everything that I got. I come around that corner, and I see him getting to the passenger side of the car. I try to Dukes of Hazzard across the hood of the car. I don't land. I don't stick the landing. I land on my back and get the air knocked out of me. I kind of roll over and try to get the air back into me. I stand up, grab the keys, unlock the door, hit the automatic locks. He gets in, we throw our stuff in, and he can hear it as he's getting into the car. And it sounds like, he said it sounds like it's running right towards the car. And so I start the car up and we take off. Now we come out of the parking lot and you have to go to the right and then down this little curvy area. And then you come to a T-stop. And if you turn right, you're going deeper into the park. If you turn left, you're working your way out of the park. And so I make that turn and my brother goes, "It's there, man. It's right there. I can see it. You got to go faster. Please go faster." And I'm like, "I'm going as fast as I can, man." He's like, "You got to go faster. It's right there." And so we come up to the T-stop and I barely slow down, crank the wheel and take off the direction I needed to go and just hammered the gas all the way down. And that's the last time that me and my brother ever went to that place. It was the last time I ever went into the woods like that again. You know, my little brother showed me what kind of person he was as my baby brother. Guys, I'm sorry for getting emotional.
Oh, dude, you're fine. You're fine, man.
I mean, the last thing your viewers want
You're
to
in a
see.
good place for this. Nobody's going to think less of you. You okay, dude?
Yeah, I'm good, man. You know, no matter how many times I tell it, you know, sometimes I'm okay with it. Sometimes, you know, it just brings it back, and it's kind of hard because June 15th of 2016, my little brother passed away. So in 4 days is going to be the anniversary of his passing. You know, you guys can prepare for a parent or a grandparent passing away, but when it's your baby brother, you know, the person you've done so many things with, and the person that looked up to you, you know, it's just rough. You know, I miss him. I miss him so much.
I know, brother. If you don't mind me asking, what happened to him?
So 8 days prior to him passing, he had a massive heart attack. He had a widowmaker, and he survived it. And he was on his way to just a routine checkup to get 90 days worth of meds because he was moving from Texas back up to Tennessee to help my mom pack up her house because she had bought a house in Alabama, and they were all going to live together. And I talked to him that morning, and he told me, you know, he was going to the doctor's appointment, that it was a Thursday, and he told me he'd let me know when he gets on the road. And then at about 4 o'clock later that day, I get a phone call from his fiance, and I told her, I'm like, "Hey, I got to call me back. I'm taking my daughter into a doctor's appointment." And she told me he died. I talked to his friend that he was with, and we both were crying. He's like, "Dan, I did everything I could, man. I looked over your brother. He was going into convulsions, and then he just went limp. And he was gone." And I just talked to him that morning. You know, so it's hard, you know. He always told me that he would never live to see 45. And I told him, I said, "Man, you got to stop talking like that." And then he met his fiance or reconnected with her, and asked her to marry him, and he was so happy, so full of life. He says, I want to live. I want to live, man. I want to live older than 45. And I go, you're going to, you and I are going to have that picture of, two old brothers sitting on a porch, drinking some sweet tea and having a good laugh. And he was only 42 when he passed away. 42 is too young, It's just, but I tell the story because I want to remember him and I want to honor him, and I honor him because I want people to know what kind of person he was, a selfless person. He would give you the shirt off his back if you needed it. If he had $5 and you needed some money, he would give you $5. That's just the type of person he was. So, oh, okay.
You okay, dude?
Yeah, I'm good, man. And I was hyping myself up all day. I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry. Robbie doesn't need to know how much of a wuss I am.
Dude, I think we've both cried at one point or another.
Well, many times.
But that's all of my cryptid experience. I've had plenty of paranormal. I've had a UFO sighting. I don't know if you guys want to get on that. I don't know how long you want your show to go, but
if you want to talk about your UFO sighting, that's cool. Go right ahead.
Well, it's nothing fancy. I mean, I was 17 years old, living in Lacey, Washington. My dad had just moved to this area, and we were living in a house on a lake called Long Lake. And south of, hold on one second, you guys don't need to hear this. All right, sorry, guys.
Hey, no worries, dude. No worries at all.
That's one bad thing about crying. I get headaches and I get a runny nose. But so I was living in Lacey, Washington, like I said, and we lived on a Long Lake. We had a boat dock, and my dad was gone. Our roommate was gone. So my girlfriend came over, and it was a nice night. It wasn't too cold, but it wasn't warm, and we took a blanket down to the dock, and we just kind of laid there and was stargazing and just into the moment. And I felt like this electricity in the air. And I know what some people are going to say. Yeah, there were fireworks going on, but that wasn't what was causing electricity. Like, I legit felt an electric charge in the air. And so much so is that my hair on my arms was standing up. And I look at her, I go, do you feel that? And she's like, yeah, the electricity. She goes, my hair feels frizzy. The hair on my arms are standing up. And that's when we heard this humming noise. Not like, but like a, if anybody's a fan of Star Wars, have seen Star Wars, the Empire's ship, the Star Destroyer, when it's moving through the space and you hear that low drone, whatever, that's what I heard. And I'm like, what is that? And so we sit up and I look to the left and behind me where there's a big grove of trees. Now those trees are gone. There is housing, super nice houses built along the lake over in this area. And I go, what is that? And I see this light just slowly scanning left to right. And the electricity it felt like it was getting stronger. The humming noise was constant. And she got spooked. I got spooked. We jumped up. I grabbed the blanket and we took off running up to my house. Through the back door, closed the sliding glass door, closed the drapes, ran up to my room. Now, my bedroom, I slept in a loft that overlooked the dining room and the living room. But where my loft was, it had a big wall, but it had an opening that was like shutters. And if you look out this little opening, you can see down to the bottom floor. But if you look straight ahead, there was like a series, like 5 or 6 windows that look right out to the lake and right out to the boat dock. And so I've got the shutters open and I'm looking and I see that light slowly moving through my backyard and then out over to the lake, out across the boat dock. And that's when the light shut off. But I still heard this humming noise. But it was funny, for something this big, it didn't vibrate. There was no vibration. You could feel like a helicopter or a plane fly over low, and you could feel the vibrations of the engines through in your house. But you didn't feel this. And so as I'm looking, I see this thing slowly move out over the lake. And it just shot straight up in the air. It was gone. And this thing was probably, I probably would not be exaggerating if I said it's the size of a football field. Massive. And just gone. And we both looked at each other and she just had this look on her face. I go, "You're not going anywhere. You're staying here tonight." Enough said. If I'll stand up for you, I'll talk to your mom, I'll talk to your stepdad. You're not driving home. No, it's not happening. And so the next morning, got up early, drove her home. No one said anything really. And then, I walked back to my house. So that was it. That was my UFO encounter.
Robbie had a pretty good one just recently down on the Niagara River here in Missouri.
Well, save that for Friday. We'll talk Bigfoot. We'll talk Dogman. We'll talk UFO.
Robbie had a great UFO story.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the only one I've got UFO wise though. I'm not the UFO guy.
Yeah.
But we did see something that I don't know.
Still a badass story though.
Oh yeah.
I can't wait to hear it. And then I don't know if you guys have heard of the crawlers, whatever, the rake.
Hail crawler?
Yeah.
The rake, yeah.
Yeah, I saw one of those my senior year before, the summer before my senior year. I goofed off my junior year. I failed 2 classes, and I knew with the way the grade structures were in Washington State, there was no way I was going to graduate on time. And so I had this long conversation with my dad, and I said, "Dad, under any other circumstance, if I would have passed, I'd still be staying here." I said, "I do not want to do didn't you show a video of your show of a Bigfoot?" So, yeah, Don, I did. A buddy of mine, I'm sure you guys have known him, Steamboat, is a good friend of mine. He sent me a video of backyard surveillance. And for some reason, I tend to believe that maybe this security camera's inside the house, pointing out a window or whatever, because you hear dog whining in the background, and you see this massive figure. The fence is 8 feet tall. It's an 8-foot tall privacy fence, because the guy has a pool and everything in the backyard. And from the shadows on the left side of the screen, this thing comes walking out. Not even a full second out, you kind of, where the light source shines out, it's casting a shadow, but you can kind of see its face. And then it just keeps going to the right side of the screen, bends down, picks something up, and carries it back towards the left part of the screen. Come to find out what it was is it peeled a homemade live trap. It peeled it open like a sardine can, reached in and grabbed the raccoon that was in this thing, and completely, that's what it was. It was like a 33 to 35 second video clip, but it's crazy. I had Doug Hychek look at it, and he's like, "This is definitely not an AI video. Some people said someone walking back there, someone saying that there's no way that the creature was, it was a real creature, someone back there. And hold on one second here.
Can you send us the video? Oh.
You get his ears off.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. My kid is
No problem at all, man.
And I go, I'm sorry, there's a bug. What does that have to do with you cranking your music that I can hear clearly through the room, through my headphones, so. But what's the video called? There's no video. There's no name of it that I know of. He just sent it to me. I posted it on my channel. I also posted it on my TikTok channel. And on TikTok, it has like over 183,000 views.
Any chance you could send us a copy of it? I'd love to take a look at it.
I'll do it right now.
Sweet.
I'll do it right this second. So, but yeah, so after talking with Steamboat, the creature has been trying to communicate with the husband, and I guess the husband's not receptive to communicating with this creature, but the wife is. And you come to find out that this creature's name is Samson, and he's probably around 8 or probably about 9 feet tall. And yeah, it's a pretty good video. Let me kind of get it here, see if I have it here. I know I have it, so let me see if I can find it here. Let's do this here. Yeah, it's like a 35-second clip. And I'm gonna send it to you in Messenger.
Okay.
Let's see here.
I'm not gonna show it on the show tonight, but
okay.
I'd love to take a look at it.
Yeah, here it is. There you go. Just send it to you. But so yeah, so the creature, the fence itself, even because Steamboat has been out there, he's seen it himself. He said it's an 8-foot fence. The creature is probably 9, close to 10 feet tall. And the reason that he asked Steamboat about it, the owner did, is because he's like, man, I got something going on. And when this took place, when this video was taken, it was taken right at or right after Thanksgiving of 2024. And it's crazy. Like I said, Doug Hychek looked at it multiple times. He goes, it's definitely not AI. People are saying, so it's someone out there goofing off, doing whatever. But no, it's to me, it's a really cool video, and I think it is what everybody thinks it is. I think it's a Sasquatch. The movement, I've had a couple other people look at it. The movement is correct. It doesn't look like it's a person in a suit. The movement is very fluid with this thing. There isn't any hiccups. It doesn't appear to be looking down to try to select its steps. So it's pretty cool. Any question?
Yeah. I'll share it with Robbie too. I'd
Sure.
love to take a look at it.
Yeah.
Whose video did you say it was?
A Steamboat.
Steamboat. Okay.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to use it on a show without their permission. So we'll just look at it.
Oh yeah, I'll get to him, and I'm
Okay.
sure once he knows you want to put it on your show, I think he'd be very happy.
Okay.
With it. He's such a cool guy. He's got nothing to gain from it. And the owner, I've tried to get him to get I've tried to have him get the owner of that video, the original, on my show. And he's like, I have no desire to be on the show. So how many experiences have I had? Do you know? So are we talking about paranormal experiences? Are we talking cryptid? So cryptid, I've had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've had 6 cryptid encounters. maybe more, but I lived in West Virginia with my great grandma and my mom and my little brother, and we would hear weird things out in the woods behind our house. We'd hear yells, screams. You'd hear like owls that just weren't quite sounding like owls. And I remember one time I heard something, and I asked my great grandma, I go, what is that, Nanny? What is that? And she's like, oh, it's them hillbillies up there in the hills. You better watch them hillbillies. Them boogers will get you.
Sounds like some of my cousins.
Yeah, but that was my great grandma, and so. But again, I can't say for certain, that I count that as an encounter. So, but for sure 6. Paranormal. I've had paranormal experiences honestly since the age 4, up until probably last year. I weighed almost 400 pounds. I weighed like 400. Well, I weighed over 4. I weighed like 428 pounds. And one night I felt something grab my left ankle. I was sleeping on my back, grabbed my left ankle, and it literally picked me up in the air and flipped me over off my bed. I landed on my stomach, my chest, my face, and my wife was like, honey, what was that? What was that? I go, oh, nothing. I just fell out of bed. I reached up, grabbed my pillow, and just laid there. And I'm like, what the hell was that? So I've been touched by apparition. I've seen multiple full body apparitions. DA, you were in the Army, so man,
Yes,
what Army posts are like.
Mm-hmm.
Where were you stationed?
Leonard Wood in Fort Huachuca, Arizona.
Bro, I'm gonna tell you right now, because I tried to join the Army, and I was gonna go to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for basic training.
Fort Lost in the Woods.
And I was supposed to go to Fort Huachuca, Arizona for my AIT.
What was your MOS going to be?
96 Romeo, ground surveillance radar.
You know what we called those guys? Biodegradable pop-up targets.
What exactly did those guys do? The way
they crawl out between our troops and enemy troops to place ground sensors. They don't even go out with guns. If they're seen, they're dead. We call them biodegradable pop-up targets because if your head comes up, you're dead.
Because he told me that I was going to sneak out behind enemy lines and man a listening post and da-da-da-da.
No.
And then something happened with my whole nationality and my citizenship, and they told me I wasn't an American citizen, so I told them to go F themselves. And then I went over to the Air Force and what do you want to do? And I was he goes, you can have pretty much any job you want with the exception of a couple. Your ASVAB scores are off the charts. And I just saw this poster of a peacekeeper with a canine, and I'm like, that's what I want to do. He's like, you want to be a cop? And I go, yeah. He goes like, dude, you're wasting your talents. I go, what talents? He's like, do you understand what you do? I go, nope, that's what I want to do. I want to guarantee it or I'm leaving. And then I'm going next door to the Marine Corps. And then if I couldn't get into the Marine Corps, then I was going to probably discover what drugs were like and then be a nuisance and a pest. Be a real criminal. But no, I got in the Air Force, became a cop, and I was stationed in Germany. Saw a couple phantoms in the dormitory. Heard World War II era prop planes. Piston engines flying over the German Air Force base I was stationed on. Looking up, there was nothing there. FE1 Air Force Base in Cheyenne, Wyoming. Saw full body apparition in the cemetery. Saw something walk through both perimeter fences of the weapon storage area. Just walk like a man. I watched a man walk right through both perimeter fences. Didn't trip any alarms or sensors. Walked in between the hardened aircraft or the igloos where we house the munitions, and just disappeared. So yeah, I've had quite a bit of crazy stuff around here. So that's pretty much about it. Anybody want to ask me any questions? Anybody watching or listening? I'm an open book. I got nothing to hide from you guys. Nope.
Yeah. Back in the...
I was looking to see if we had
Yeah, that's what I
had
was
any
doing.
questions pop up. Yeah, your recruiter lied to you. Being a Romeo is 96 Romeo is pretty much suicide.
Man, I'm glad I didn't. I'm glad I didn't go. You know,
In
I
fact,
wonder.
it was such a common knowledge among everybody on post that the phrase "Don't be a Romeo" would be something people would say if you're doing something stupid.
No. Now, where were you? You were on Old Line Cryptids last night, right? Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. You talked about Fort Leonard Wood.
A lot of sightings, Bigfoot sightings on Leonard Wood.
I would love to interview somebody or multiple people that have had encounters. I am hitting brick walls with veterans, active duty, National Guard reservists. I'm hitting a brick wall with getting these guys to even answering a Reddit post or a post on Facebook, you know. So if
Yeah,
you can
you're
help,
running into the big green wall.
yeah, if you can help me out with anything like that, I'd greatly appreciate it.
I will try, but even with my contacts, I can't get anybody to speak openly about it. They'll tell me their story, but you can't quote them. You can't quote their name.
Yeah.
They'll tell you the story, but they don't want to come on a show. They don't want their name associated with it because some of them are still in.
Yeah.
And some of them don't want to lose their clearance.
Yeah. And that's why I never said anything about I'll tell you about my full body apparition in Cheyenne, Wyoming. So I was working relief officer. I got pulled off of our security squad, our security flight over to the law enforcement side. I was working Police 5 this night. It was in November. It was either right before the night you and your brother got sick and chased to the car. Was it a Bigfoot? Okay, so here's my thing, Tammy. I will never say that it was a Sasquatch because I never saw it. I heard it. When we walked into the woods, I smelled something, but I just attribute it to being an animal, whatever. My brother saw it. He could say it was a Bigfoot. I would never doubt my brother saying he saw a Bigfoot that crossed behind me. But everything that I saw and heard and sensed that day, there's no doubt in my mind that's what it was. But I will never say yes, 100% without certain, as much as I'm talking to everybody now, that's what it was. There's a probability that it wasn't, but it's highly unlikely. What part of West Virginia are you? I was born in Logan County, close to the Boone County line. My family is from Huntington, Milton, and Beaver, West Virginia. Or we should say West by God, Virginia. Posted, where are you talking? Fort
Leonard Wood. There's a reason I set my wild hunt team at the south gate of Fort Leonard Wood.
Said South Gate was strange. See,
the South Gate is technically in the Mark Twain National Forest.
Really?
Yeah. In fact, a big chunk of Fort Leonard Wood is. Fort Leonard Wood's 25,000 plus acres of mostly forest land. There's a lot of ranges and trails and stuff like that, but it's mostly forest land. And it is actually partially in the Mark Twain National Forest, which is about 3.5 million acres.
That sounds just like Fort Lewis, Washington.
Mm-hmm.
Fort Lewis, Washington and McChord Air Force Base are just, because now it's like Joint Base McChord Lewis.
Lewis McChord.
Yeah. And that's all right. It is so massive. So, and that's where my dad was stationed. My dad was stationed at Fort Lewis. And my little brother was born on Fort Madigan Army Hospital. That's where he was born. So.
Kay Bowers hit it right on the head. And this is why you're running against the green wall. You lose your clearance talking about something that doesn't exist.
Yep. And see that's why I never.
Or you can get your retirement threatened.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I mean, see, so
I've collected a lot of stories from other military posts, including Fort Leonard Wood, quite a few from Leonard Wood specifically.
Yeah.
And every one of them were like, okay, I'll tell you the story, but you cannot use my name. You cannot say that I told you this.
I would love to read those stories on a show, like for real.
Well, most of them, I wasn't even allowed to record. I just got them in my brain because they're like, okay, don't write anything down. I want you writing my name down, but I'll tell you the story.
Wow. Even though you would use a different year that it happened, you would use a completely
Might even change the name of the base, but
Yeah.
no.
Wow. Yeah, I keep trying to put stuff out there, but and
Recently I've asked them, why if I change the name and change the base, why would that be a problem? He said, because enough of my chain of command knows the story that they will fill in the details themselves.
Yeah, I mean, that sucks because, I know about the security clearances. I had a top secret clearance when I was in the Air Force just because of what my job was and what I worked around. And that's why I never told anybody about the apparition that I saw, because as I was done doing relief work, it was like 1 or 2 in the morning. It was right around the full moon, either before or after or right at it in November. There was some snow on the ground. And part of my patrol area was the cemetery that's on F.E. Warren Air Force Base. And as I'm driving by, this moon was gigantic. It was so huge in the sky. I didn't need a flashlight. You could see, I could have drove around with no lights on and still seen everything with no problem. And as I'm slowly driving by, I see someone standing in the cemetery. And I'm like, who the hell is out here at, 1, 2 in the morning? And they did security checks, radio checks, like every hour, And so I pull up, get out of my cruiser, and I start walking. And I get, probably 20, 30 feet from the person. And I'm like, ma'am, you can't be in here. And she didn't even acknowledge my presence at all. And so I took another step closer and I go, ma'am. And she like legit looked at me like this. She went. And that's when I'm like, oh, crap. I noticed the clothing she was wearing. It was period clothing. Like
what period?
Like late 1800s, early 1900 clothing. And I'm like, what the? I go, ma'am, you can't be here. And I took a step, and it felt like I took a step towards her, and it felt like I got something splashed in my face. And the next thing I know, I hear, Control Police 5, radio check. Control Police 5, radio check. And so I grab my mic, and I go, Police 5, all secure. Copy that. Police 5, all secure. Control out. And I'm like, what the heck was going on? And then I realized I'm on my back. I'm flat on my back. And I'm like, what the hell? So I'm kind of doing this mental check. I'm going through my body. I can move my feet. I can move my legs. I can bend my knees. I can move my hands. And I stand up and I'm looking around and I see where I'm apparently tried to do a snow angel. And then I noticed the tracks. I'm like, the tracks I'm looking at are my tracks. There are no other tracks, period. Nothing in and or around where she was standing. So I go and I walk back to the cruiser, get in, and I've got this chill in my body that I cannot get rid of. And I had winter Gore-Tex on, so I wasn't feeling the cold from laying on the ground. Like I had this cold deep in my bones. And I couldn't get rid of it. I turned the heat all the way up in the cruiser. I could have cooked a burrito on the dash if I needed to. And then I look at the clock in the car. And I had been out, I guess, for almost 45 minutes. I'm like, holy smokes, what happened? So I drove around for the rest of the night with the dome light on inside the cruiser, the heat as hot as it would get, and I just constantly just drove just in a circle around the base, trying to stay where there were street lights as much as I possibly could. Got off post, off a shift, got relieved, got in my truck, drove right back to my dorm room, took all my gear off, went into the shower, I've never had my shower all the way on hot ever, except for this time. And it was like for 2 days, I couldn't get this chill out of my body. So.
Dude, that's nuts. I don't like messing with the paranormal. I've had some paranormal experiences, but it's not something I really want to go looking for.
Nope, me neither.
Just take a big old pass on that. I'll deal with a cryptid. Give me an enemy I can shoot. I don't want to deal with paranormal or aliens, but
nope,
you know,
me neither.
The more you kind of get out there in this field, the more you run into overlap. I mean, like Robbie was at a Bigfoot conference and had a UFO sighting.
Man, that's awesome. That's awesome.
It is what it is. I was there for Bigfoot, so
yeah. Well, DA, you said it perfect. There's a lot of overlap because I mean, if you think about it, you know, I cover UFO stuff on my channel as well. I cover Dogman. I cover UFO, Dogman, the pale crawlers, skinwalkers. I'll deal with all that type of stuff. But when it comes to like the occult, black magic, all that type of stuff, I want nothing to do with it.
Exactly.
You know, ghosts. I mean, I don't mind telling my ghost stories, but I don't want to invite any new ones because I don't want anything to manifest. You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm. So,
but you know, I would definitely. I plan on doing a little bit of field work out here by my house because, well, let me tell you, so this is secondhand. This is coming from my son, who's moving home in 2 weeks. About 20 minutes from my house is where his dad lives. Now, when I say my son, it's my stepson. I've been around him since he was 11. He's my kid, you know? And so just this past spring break, we were up in Michigan because that's where he's living right now. And we had like 2 days before we were supposed to come back to Minnesota. And he's like, Dan, can I talk to you about something? And I'm like, yeah, sure. And I'm thinking he's going to talk some sports with me or something like that. But it's just how he asked me, and it was his body language and his facial expressions. I knew it was something else. I'm going to preface this saying my son does not lie. He is a crappy liar. He tells on himself all the time. You'll know if he's trying to tell you a tale that's a lie. You'll catch him about 6 words into it because he starts smirking. You know, he doesn't go around and talk and say things like what I'm about to tell you in fear of being told that he's stupid or he's dumb. He just doesn't like that. My son's very shy. He's very quiet. He's very deliberate on things that he says because he doesn't want to sound stupid. Now, with that being said, he pulls me into the kitchen and he sits down and he's like, I think I saw something. And I'm like, well, what do you mean? What do you saw? What'd you see? He goes, you know what you talk about. I go, you think you saw a Bigfoot? And he's like, yeah, I think I saw a Bigfoot. I go, well, when? I go, why are you just now telling me this? You know, I love this type of stuff. And he goes, I don't know. Didn't think you would believe me. I go, bro, just let me have it. What'd you see? And he goes, well, I was coming home from my dad's house, and it was right around my birthday, which was in August, and this is August of 2021. And he goes, so as I'm driving, he goes, I see something on the left-hand side kind of step out of the trees next to this bike path, and we're right across the road. On the other side is, you know, that big open field with that big oak tree and that one house that's close to it. I go, yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about. He goes, and you know how the road kind of goes up in a little tiny like hill? I go, yeah, it inclines a little bit. He's like, we were just getting to that, and I saw this thing moving out, and I started slowing down. And he goes, I was about halfway up on this incline when, you know, I looked out my rearview mirror, and the back of the car was all illuminated because of the brake lights. And that's when I saw this thing running right at my car from behind, like running right up to the back of my car. And he goes, I stepped on the gas and I sped out of there. And I go, how fast were you going? And he goes, I was probably going 70 or 80 miles an hour. Now, here's another thing. My son doesn't speed. Like, he legit, he does. If it's the speed limit is 65, he's going 62. He just doesn't speed. And so I said, man, and he goes, I said, you didn't, I said, you sped? He's like, yeah, I did. I asked his fiance, and he goes, well, I said, hey, did you see that? And she goes, what? And she snapped her head around just in time to see something running through this open field and then off into the darkness. And so I called her in there, and I go, Jessica, I said, you know what Joey just told me? She's like, yeah. And I go, how fast was he going when he saw it? He goes, I've never seen Joey drive this fast. He was going like 60, 70, 80 miles an hour. And I go, holy smokes. And I go, what? He goes, I don't understand what it was. He goes, I've never seen anything that big move that fast, that quick. He goes, I see it, it peels off, and then it's gone into the darkness. And that's like about 20 minutes from my house, if that. So I'm going to be doing some investigation up around that area. Doug Hycheck had a sighting up around that area as well. There's a lake that's right over by my house, right next to the movie theater, and Lake Amelia. And there's a sighting and an incident over there that I want to find, try to investigate that area as well. And to answer that question, this is Bay City, Michigan. When he told me this, and her family lives near Cadillac, Boone, Michigan, which is the Huron-Manistee National Forest, which is a mecca for these creatures. Those and dogmen, I heard. So, and I keep telling my daughter-in-law's or future daughter-in-law's dad, I'm like, you've got 34, 35 acres of land that's pretty much inside this national forest. You mean to tell me you never heard or seen anything? He's like, nope, never have. I think he has. He just don't want to say nothing.
Yeah, well, a lot of people don't want to tell the stories like that because they don't want their family to think they're crazy.
Yeah. Well, like I said, it took me over 30 years to come out with mine. So, but yeah, that's pretty much all my cryptid encounters.
That's awesome, dude.
So,
we are past the 2-hour mark. We're going to have to start winding things down.
yeah.
Daniel, tell us again about your channel and where to find it, and we'll put the links up in the chat again real quick, and we'll start winding things down.
I appreciate that. Again, it's the Cryptid Podcast. That can be found on YouTube and Spotify. If you guys would like to come on the show, if you've had an encounter, you'd like to come on the show, my email address is thecryptidpodcast72@gmail.com. I drop new content every Wednesday. I do a live stream on every Saturday at 8:30. Next week, I'm going back to dropping a Friday episode. So starting next week, I'll be doing Saturdays. I'll be doing Wednesday and Friday new episode drops. And then every Saturday, 8:30 Central Standard Time, I'll be doing a live stream.
Awesome. Well, brother, appreciate you coming on. Thank you so much for taking time to hang out with us. And you got some freaking awesome stories.
Man, I appreciate it. And again, man, they are what they are. I wish I could give you a definitive answer on, yep, all of them were Bigfoot for sure. But again, look at
no one can guarantee anything. Only they can just say what happened and let people draw their own conclusions. But
yeah,
those are definitely very interesting stories.
Yeah, well, I appreciate you guys. And again, DA, I was a huge fan. I still am, but I'm glad now I pretty much call you one of my friends. And
I'm happy to do it too, brother.
And Robbie, hopefully this is a start of a beautiful relationship, my hairy friend. And no, man,
Robbie Squatch.
Yeah, Robbie Squatch. But I'm so excited about having you on. If it wasn't for, I think, a mutual friend of ours, Maggie, letting me know, I'm looking forward to our interview on Friday.
Yep, looking forward to it.
All righty.
Well, folks, before we wind up, I want to mention a couple of our channel sponsors. Check out the good folks over at Dark Angel Medical, best medical kits in the business for all your basic first aid and trauma needs. I carried a Dark Angel kit through most of my law enforcement career, and I wouldn't trust another kit to save my life. They're the best. And I don't just say that because Doc's a friend of mine. I carried those kits because they were top notch. So check out darkangelmedical.com. Find a kit that serves your needs and keep one handy because the life you save may be your own. Check out Dark Angel. Use discount code CRYPTID20 for 20% off your order. And for those of you who are big fans of the Wild Hunt book, check out sigwoarms.com. Sigwo is a gun manufacturer here in Springfield, Missouri, and they're going to be producing a line of custom Wild Hunt themed weapons. ARs, they can put the logos on anything you like. So check out sigwoarms.com. We'll have a discount code from them coming very soon. They're still setting it up. But check out the website, look at the stuff they've got available, and their custom work is top notch. They do great stuff. And if you're looking for suppressors or anything in an AR or just about anything, to be honest, check out Sigwo and tell Cody we sent you. Don't forget to watch for Robbie's new book. It's wrapping up. He's 36,000 words in?
Yeah, thereabouts. I just finished chapter 16 today.
So he will probably be having that book wrapped up in the next couple of weeks, hopefully with a release date coming out soon. Lakeview Man Dead of Winter is done. The only thing I am waiting for is the final cover. Waiting on the artist on that. As soon as I get the cover finished and the way I want it, we will be announcing release on that. I've started a new project. If you guys are a member of the Patreon, watch Patreon in the next day or two because I'll have the first chapter up for you guys to check out. It's going to be called The Devil of the Absarokas. And it's at the moment it's kind of a standalone novel, but it will probably ultimately end up having some familiar faces. But there'll be some new characters introduced as well. So I'm kind of excited to get this project really rolling. So again, check out daroberts.net. Check me and Robbie both out on Amazon.com. I got
Patreon now too.
Robbie's got a Patreon now, so check that out. You can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/DARobertsAuthor. So I hope you guys will check all of that out. Thank you guys for being part of the DAX Machina Nation. Appreciate you guys for being subscribers to the channel. And if you haven't had a chance to subscribe to the channel, please do so because the algorithm's telling us that about 45% of the people who watch the videos are not subscribed to the channel. So subscribing's free, doesn't cost you a dime. But it does help us get further into the algorithm, and we are closing in on the 10K. So we would love you guys help get with us reaching 10K subscribers. That's going to be a big milestone for us, and we can't wait to hit it. We're pretty close. So folks, again, thank you guys so much for hanging out with us. As we wind up the show, I always like to mention the 22 of a Day Foundation. We lose 22 veterans a day to suicide, and that is 22 too many. I've buried too many friends under a folded flag. This is a subject that's very near and dear to me. So reach out to your friends and family that are veterans and first responders. Reach out to the ones that especially the ones you don't think need the help, because generally those are the ones that probably need it the most. But you never know when that text you send or that phone call you make is what keeps them off the edge of that day. And folks, remember, don't let the hard days win, because at least 22 times a day they are. So make sure everybody that's worn a uniform and served their community or their country, let them know they're not fighting those demons alone. And we're going to wind things up, and I'm going to pour myself just a little skosh of bourbon, and when I pop the cork, Jock will probably log in. But didn't work. Not this time.
He's probably asleep.
Pour myself a little splash of bourbon. Going to take my hat off. And Mr. Robbie, would you like to close us out with the toast?
Sure thing.
Let me bring that up.
This, like we've always said, this is from an old Irish drinking song. And it's not always about the ones that you're just saying goodnight to at the end of the night. It's the ones you say goodnight to permanently that you're not going to see again until one day not here. So whatever you're drinking, don't matter what it is, raise a glass with us. But since it fell into my lot that I should rise and you should not, I'll gently rise and softly call, good night and joy be to you all. Slàinte.
Good night, everybody. Slàinte Ma. Thank you for being here.
Thank you for joining us. Catch us again Wednesdays and Saturdays on DAX Machina. A special thanks to all our channel members and Patreon supporters. Please make sure to like, share, and subscribe.